Perfect. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. William, thank you for being my tech support, seeing chats coming in and everything. So that'll be awesome. So what we're going to do today, guys, is we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about opportunities and uploading documents for compliance and kind of a broad stroke overview of that. So there's a lot of cool things we can do with opportunities. I know, Zach, you're using it at a fairly high level. I'm using it at a high level as well. So we'll get in here and kind of play with it. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. And we're gonna go here. Perfect. So in Command, obviously over here on opportunities. Now, opportunities, this is a great spot. Zach was talking about it a couple months ago now in team meeting about putting everything in. So Zach, if you can unmute yourself, kind of how are you, what's your thought process on opportunities? How have you been using it currently?
What I do is every time that I have a new lead or an existing lead in Command, as I'm going through and, you know, making my follow-up calls and stuff like that, I will, I'll put them in there as an opportunity. And what I like to do is I like to put the address specifically, you know, that they have, and I use something called HomeBot for leads. And then I like that because then it tells me, like, gives me an estimated value. So I can put in like what the projected sales price would be. But also on HomeSnap, that app, well, I guess it's kind of like tied to MLS or whatever, but that also gives you a an estimated value. So I like numbers, like an actual data. So I like to put as much in there as I can. So if I have, you know, an estimated sales price and I put in like a low estimated commission that I would get on it, and then I put them in an appropriate stage. You know, I like it because it's like you can see your whole pipeline and you can see the possibilities. But I also like to, if something drops off and I change it to a lost opportunity, I think it helps, you know, just create more data points to like, you know, okay, like all these leads from HomeBot are, you know, turning into lost opportunities a month after you put them in there. So it's probably garbage. And like, you know, that I think at some point it'll be helpful in that regard. But I just like to put as much information as I can in there, and then like put in, you know, the co-seller or the co-buyer or whatever, if there is one. And I think it's just another way to flesh out the contact cards as much as possible to know, you know, who you're dealing with and what the possibility is as you're doing your lead follow-up.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the big thing is, you know, we can look at this, guys, we're running a business. We all understand that, right? Businesses run off of a profit and loss statement. If we don't know where our profit is, we don't know what our loss is, we have no idea what we're doing from day to day. And especially in times like this, let's be completely honest, who's felt burnt out over the last month because of the stay at home, all that stuff? I mean, everyone's hands are going up, right? So this is a nice thing. You get back in here as you're doing your lead gen. I check my opportunities on a regular basis to say, oh, like, right, like Zach was saying, I've got stuff in the pipeline. I've got stuff moving. I'm doing okay. I was talking to my coach this last week with all the stuff that's changed here in Colorado, being essential, non-essential, partially essential, the whole gamut. You know, we were talking about it. What's the worst thing that could happen? I'm going to continue to do my calls, do my stuff. And if I build a pipeline that I've got 12 listings or 12 clients that say, hey, when all this stuff is done, we don't want to do anything right now, but when all this is done, let's jump in. Well, if I'm putting them into opportunities, I can go over here on the right-hand side and look at my GCI potential income and probable income for both listings and buyers. Again, from an analytics standpoint, my business goal or my business plan is to be 60% listing, 40% buyer. Right now, looking at my potentials and probables, I've got more buyers than I do listings. So that shows me an area of opportunity. I need to be more specific on the listing information.
Where do you see that?
So I clicked into opportunities, and then as you're looking at listings, buyers, over on the right-hand side, as you start to fill out these opportunities, you'll see it pop up over here on the right-hand side. And can everyone see my screen with opportunities?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can see your screen. I think maybe the part you're talking about, for me, I see our lovely faces, but I get the gist that the specific part you're talking about is on the right.
Yep. So let's get in here. So there's a few different things we can do is creating opportunities. And let's go to chat real quick. Yes, perfect. So we can create opportunities in two spots. We can create it directly from the contact card. So as I'm going in to my contacts, let's say Amber's going to sell a house today.
Oh, I am?
Yes, thank you, Amber, for selling the house. So when I go in here, I've got Amber. I'm pretty sure this is the right one because I've got like 2 or 3 Ambers. Yep, that's the right one. So right up here on the right-hand side, you can go to opportunities. And then if they've got an opportunity currently running, let's say you've got an investor who's got 3 different properties, you can have opportunities for all of them in here. Or we're just going to create an opportunity directly from their contact card. So some of my stuff might be a little different. I have a team on here, an owner, but it's going to ask opportunity type. Is it a listing, buyer, landlord, tenant? So Amber's going to sell a house today. Here's the client. You can also do co-seller as well if it's husband and wife. I'm not going to add this in because I don't want it to tweak out the system, but you can add in the husband, whatever the case is, or spouse. And then like Zach was saying, opportunity name. The way I do this with my listings is I'm going to put in the property address. So we're going to call it 670 Lakeview Road, whatever. If it's a buyer, what I typically do with my opportunities is I'll put the last name dash buyer. The cool thing about opportunities is later on in this, once we go under contract, you can change the name of the opportunity. And I like Zach was saying, having that property address. So I know that we're talking about 1234 Main Street or anything like that. So that helps out. Thank you. Let's go ahead and rename this again. You can add in custom tags. So past client, these are the custom tags I've created. So Amber's a past client, a floor call, referral, estimated close date. I typically, when we want to go on the market, I add 45 days just for time on market, going under contract, stuff like that. It's an estimation. So let's say Amber's going to put it on the market today, and today's the 14th of April. So we're going to do, just for easy stuff, let's say June 1st closing. Estimated listing price, again, like Zach was saying, if you're doing your CMAs or if you've got a pre-approval, hey, I know this buyer's qualified up to 600,000, I would put that in. Commission rates, put in your commission rates. And then opportunity phase. And we'll talk about these here again in more detail in a second. We're going to call this a cultivate and a watch for right now. Assign it to me and create that opportunity. We'll give that a second to think. And now I got that opportunity here and I can go directly in, or if I go back to the opportunities tab on its own, since this is a listing, we'll see this update. I now have 2 cultivates. So here's another great thing about this is as we go through this, it shows average time 34 days. Let's click into cultivate. And the same rules are going to apply on the listing opportunities as well as the buyer opportunities. So in cultivate, you have cultivate, watch, nurture, and hot. And to the right of these, you'll see little percentages. So watch, 5% probability of getting paid. Nurture goes up to 70%, hot 10%. And as we go through these tabs to appointment, 10, 20, 30, active, 50, 70, 80. If my screen will move. Legacy is an 80% as well. Same thing over here. So the cool thing is as we go through this, cultivating this listing with Amber, I had a phone conversation with her. She says she wants to get a CMA. I did that, sent it out. We're going to schedule time to meet. When I go to that time, I can take this card, and you see when I hover over it, it becomes a hand. I can click and hold, and I can move it to appointments. So it went away from watch, it's been updated, it's now gone to an appointment. I'm scheduling, I can move it to scheduled, and I can move it to kept. And so I can move these all the way through, and then same thing, moving it to active, under contract, and closed. The other nice thing about all of these.
Just quick, I wanted to ask, did you put those percentages in? Because I think you can do that, right? I mean, it's up to us to manipulate the percentage of closing for each stage as opposed to a system generated number.
Yes and no. I have it as a system generated right now. As we go through this and put more in, I can, like we're getting ready to go into, is you can edit the stages, and you can go in and change your percentages with all that stuff. So up on each of these tabs under cultivate, appointment, active, under contract, and closed, up towards the top, you're going to see a little box, a white box that says edit stages. When I go to appointment, edit stages, you got this here. You can see scheduling, scheduled, kept, probabilities, and we can edit these. And then the cool thing about it is there's checklists. I haven't created my checklist yet, but we can create a checklist for us. And to my knowledge, we can also create a checklist to send to our clients that as we get in, let's go specifically to active under the edit stages, under showing. So one of my favorite clients was my dad and his wife, Kyle. My dad's wife, Kyle, is very, 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 very type A, to the point where she was calling me every morning and saying, okay, I've vacuumed, I've swept, I've dusted, I've done the baseboards, I've done this. What else do I need to do before I leave the house? And it took me about 3 or 4 days to realize, oh my God, she's asking me the same thing every single day. So I created a checklist for her. So I can go in here to these checklists and add item. Vacuum. Add another one, baseboards. And hit save. As time goes on, I'll be able to send that checklist to my client and say, cool, here's your checklist, lather, rinse, and repeat. For us though, this is where we're gonna use it under staging. So Rhonda, I'm gonna pick on you for a little bit because you do some home staging, right? So I'm gonna unmute you. Rhonda, what are some things you do as you prep to stage a home?
I have to clear out their stuff. I have little sticky notes and I walk around, and if it's green, that means they need to make it go. If it's red, it can stay.
So I can add a checklist or an item in here, clear out green. I can add, let's say move red. I don't know, as an example. We can also, hey, do we need to order more furniture? If need be, save, so on and so forth. And I can go in and create this checklist and go in and say, okay, cool, we're in the staging phase. So for Rhonda's checklist, hey, clear out the greens. Have we done it? Checkbox it, move the reds, checkbox it, order the furniture. And I can move these up and down in order as well. Highest to lowest priority. And as we go back in here, if I move Amber to active, come on, move to active. And then you can see here, here's that checklist. So it knew on the staging phase, checklist, cool, we cleared out the greens, or I can assign it. Move reds. I can assign that to a specific agent right now. As time goes on, I'll be able to assign this to a client. And I can also set due dates. So move reds, let's say we're gonna move that tomorrow at, sure, 12:48 p.m. That works. Hit okay. I've now got a scheduled task that'll show up in my task list tomorrow to go in and do that for this opportunity. And again, you can lather, rinse, and repeat and keep moving that forward. And you can see all the checklists you need throughout that process. Any questions on that so far? Perfect. So let's go into the actual opportunity itself. So under this card here, I'm going to click on 670 Lakeview Road, and it's going to pull me into my opportunity. So right here, you'll see general information, property. As I go in, you can see these little edits, and I can go in and edit this information. So when I go in and hit edit, gives me more information. So we're staging, time frame, let's say 3 months, estimated closing, appointment scheduled. You scheduled the appointment for the 15th, appointment date for the 15th. Agreement 1, when did we go under contract? Contract date, when was it executed? Or what's the date on the contract? And your close date. And it'll walk you through that entire process. You can change that for the property, the county, the address. Seller's worksheet we'll talk about on a later call because that gets a little funky. You'll have seller profile. Oh, that looks like you have a question.
Yeah, in the property section, when you click the little pencil button to edit it, I've noticed like for a listing that you have, you can pull it in and it will come in and that's fine. But if it's a buyer and it's not your listing, it doesn't seem like it pulls in that information unless something's changed. But when I've tried that in the past, I noticed that wasn't the case. So I don't know now.
Yeah, I was running into the same thing on buyers, that it gets a little funky when we're trying to put that address in. It's not a requirement to have that property information in order to get to green sheets, to do documents, to do any of that stuff. I know it's something they are working on, and they're trying to figure out how to integrate in and say, hey, we're writing an offer on 1234 Main Street, that I can search for that even if it's not a KW listing and pull up in here.
So right now,
hopefully that'll be coming sooner rather than later.
Yeah. So right now it's just pulling up the address the way it would if you were like trying to add an address to a contact card, and just pulls it up based
Correct.
on whatever, but it's not like an IDX link or anything like that, right?
Correct. Yeah. Right now it's just basically a Google search, a Google Map search. As time goes on, I know the goal is to have this IDX capable, that we can go in, and as time goes on, theoretically, we should be able to pull some of the uploaded documents in as well. So if they've got lead-based paint loaded into MLS or something along those lines, seller's property disclosure, as time goes on, they're trying to get that. The issue they're running into is it's 50 states, different MLSs, and different rules. So they got to figure out how to play fair with everyone. But up at the top, you got seller profile. This kind of, I haven't done a ton of this yet, but I know it gives us the guide from your Kelly guides, your showing guides, and it'll say registered on the consumer platform. So I know Amber's on here, and I can see her guide. She's on step 1 of 5, showing your home. As we get more in, this will get more robust as time goes on. Right now, there's not a ton of details in there. But let's go to documents. So once we've got stuff, we need to obviously submit for review. First thing we're going to do is we're going to, on the left-hand side under documents, we're going to pick a checklist type. We're going to go residential. And because this is a listing, it knows it's got a listing tab, an under contract tab, and a closed tab. And then on the right, on all of these listed we're on right now, it shows us the documents. So 0 of 27 documents uploaded, and here's the documents. Exclusive right to sell. You'll notice here it says required. Seller advisory from Cox Law Firm, required. Square foot, required. Some of these are optional. So what I would do is make sure you go through this, know your checklist, know what's in there, know what's needed. Green disclosure, if you've got a home with green features, you've got all those capabilities in there. Once we're in here, we can start a transaction. Now I have .loop and DocuSign connected. So when I use that, it's going to ask me, do I want to do a DocuSign or .loop? We're just going to go into DocuSign. We're not going to talk about creating or doing any of the contract stuff. We're just going to show you how to sync this. When I go to DocuSign, it's going to sit there and think. And what it's doing in the background right now, guys, is creating a DocuSign room for you for this property. You can see sync transaction or go to transactions. When I go to transactions, it's going to, for right now, ask me to log in to DocuSign. And my password. And now that I'm in here, it's given us some information. There's 670 Lakeview Road, details, and we can go in and update all of this stuff. We'll do a separate class on DocuSign, but from here we can add a DocuSign form or upload docs from the computer, zip form box, Dropbox, Google Drive, whatever the case is. As we start to add these in, let's go add from computer. I'm just going to upload a PDF real quick. Let's go, sure, why not, that one. Document's been added. I can go in and I can set up the DocuSign, share that out, all that fun stuff. I don't really care right now because let's go back to command and let's pretend that that's the exclusive right to sell. So as I've filled out those documents in DocuSign, I come back to command for compliance and I'm going to add file. And it's going to say manual, do I just want to upload a PDF from my computer, or let's go to DocuSign. When I check DocuSign, it's already in that loop and it'll find all of the documents in here. You can search for them by the name, exclusive right to sell, whatever the case is. It's only going to show you documents that you have uploaded or have been using in DocuSign. So I only see 670 Lakeview Road closed MLS. I can checkbox that, hit assign. We're going to pretend that's an exclusive right to sell, and it's right here. Now, if I feel so inclined, I can actually click on that. It'll give me a pop-up of it, and I can see that information. I always do that at the beginning just to make sure I'm loading the right document. And then the cool thing is when I've got all the stuff that's required, I can submit to your Market Center. And you'll submit to Market Center for each stage. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to submit to Market Center. Make sure you want to submit this for review. Avoid delay in approval by ensuring all attached documents are accurate. Contact your Market Center if you have questions. Hit submit. And you'll see here next to that, it says submitted. It'll go through the normal compliance process. If you're missing stuff, this will get returned and there will be a little, I can't remember if it's just to the left of submitted or just to the right of the actual tab. We're going to refresh because Amber just did it. That's a nice thing having the MCA next to me doing this in real time. Sure. So returns, and she's working on sending me a note or a comment, and I'll be able to go in and see that as well here in a second. Now, one thing I have noticed going through this, currently, any of the compliance comments, any of the notes or updates currently do not come through Kelly. They do now, apparently, and Amber's proving me wrong.
Yeah, I've seen those.
Last time on my last one, wasn't getting the updates. I was going to say, just make sure you keep an eye on that, but I understand. That's not it.
There.
That's a notification, yes.
Refresh, because I just sent you a note too. Hi, everybody.
There's a note. There's a pop-up notification here as well on my little bell saying I did something wrong.
Look, you have to type the at and select
that right
who
there
you're
on the
trying
screen?
to get a hold of. It's like tagging someone in Facebook.
I do
When you
see
do
all
that.
this come through Kelly as well. Every time there's an update on a
Good.
file. Yeah, so,
You cannot tag multiple people in the same time. So if you need to tag like Stuart for compliance and me for something, you have to send one note through to Stuart first and then one to me in order for us to each get notified.
Is it possible to tag people outside the market center that are still in KW?
I was just going to check that. So I'm on an expansion team and we have to send stuff to my boss. Let's see. And no, it does not look like I can send it to anyone outside of our office.
No, just within our office
Just within our office.
for now. I don't know if that's going to change.
It could change, but again, here's everyone. Here's all the admins. So we'll cancel that out. So there's returned. I know here would be my message, why it was returned. And then I can go in and change or replace that document when I've created the right one. So if I'm missing a signature or line 15 of the contract to buy and sell is blank and I need to fix that, when I put that new one into DocuSign, I can replace and find the updated one in DocuSign here.
Do you know when you're working with DocuSign and like you're making those documents able for people to sign and stuff like that, when people do sign it, is that is there any kind of notification in Commander and Kelly, or is that just all external with DocuSign?
It's external with DocuSign. So what I did is I actually downloaded an app. I downloaded the DocuSign app. There's two. There's DocuSign, and then there's another one that's like DocuSign Rooms. The Rooms app doesn't function the way we need it to on here. But when I downloaded the DocuSign app itself and signed in, I get the pop-up notification on my phone.
Gotcha.
So that way I know if I'm out and about doing stuff, hey, I just got that contract signed. Cool, I'm good. I don't have to worry about coming back to my computer or checking my email. I get an email for it, but I like having that pop-up notification saying, hey, this is blatant, this is obvious, it's a DocuSign app, so hey, contracts are being worked on. So
are you guys using DocuSign and Command and everything like that on your expansion team?
so we are not currently using Command in its fullest function right now. Reason being is we will crash the system. If we put, right now, no real full expansion teams are using this because of all the intricacies that we have. As time goes on, yes, we will be using Command and DocuSign for everything. Not DocuSign per se. We're all welcome to use whatever contract software we want, but everything is going to be run through Command because our office does the compliance. I send my green sheet or commission request up to Alaska for approval as well. So I have to have my green sheets done almost immediately so I can send it up to Alaska because it takes them 3 or 4 days to send that through the proper channels to figure out and everything that needs to be done there.
Yeah.
But I like it, I'm a huge .loop fan, I'll be honest, and it's recorded. I like .loop over CTME. I don't know the first thing about CTME contracts anymore. I used it in real estate school. That was the last time I touched it. I can't stand it. .loop I'm a huge fan of, but I like this because it's one seamless system in here. I'm still putzing around in DocuSign a little bit. That's why I haven't done a class yet, because I'm still getting hung up on some stuff and trying to figure out, am I doing something stupid, or am I thinking the system is supposed to be doing something that it can't function with?
Right.
So as I get further along in that trial and error process, I am going to do a DocuSign class and go through that as well with everyone.
Cool.
So, and later on, Amber does a class on how to get paid at the table. So it talks about the offers, the commissions, and everything along those lines. So we'll do those as time goes on as well. So any other questions, comments, ahas so far today?
Just hire Joyce. She'll do it.
Hire Joyce, yeah. I've got my TC's getting spun up on all this stuff. He's pretty close to it. And I'm like, cool, you get to do all this. Here's my login. Go have fun.
Yeah.
Anything from you, Miss Rhonda? Nothing?
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, guys. It's a little after 1 o'clock. Thanks for being here. And I'll see you guys on Thursday.
Thanks, Seamus.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Appreciate it.
Not a problem. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.